This morning I'm going to be talking about Dreams Explored, which is a talk that's going to be built upon last Sunday's talk. So, dreams again. Before I get into this morning's talk, though, I wanted to share something with you and run something by you at the same time. Not only for those here in the sanctuary, but also those of you who are so supportive of us and sign into the webinar each Sunday. And I came up with this idea this last week about offering something new on Sunday mornings, offering something not complicated or extensive, just adding a 5-minute segment, to our Sunday talk and calling it Let's Talk. And this is why it's, I like to feel connected to people. And when we have someone in Spain and someone in Florida and someone in Germany and someone in Hawaii, which we don't, that's perhaps a forecast of the future. Anyway, I like to feel connected. So we're going to try this starting in September of Let's Talk. And we can talk about anything but politics. Mm-hmm. Politics is not, it's not going to come in because it's too controversial. We all have our political opinions, and it's going to separate our consciousness rather than unite our consciousness. So, for example, I was listening to a TED Talk this week about friends, and it really caught my attention because the subject of friends is very much a part of the teaching. In fact, there's a chapter in the book written by Torkim Saradarian called Friendships, and the book's called Challenge for Discipleship, and the chapter is called Friendships. And he gets very definitive about what a friend is and what it is not in the spiritual life. So naturally, listening to the TED Talk, it immediately caught my attention. And the question was, how many friends do people normally have? Well, the answer was 150. I couldn't handle 150 friends. How could that be? So then the talk went into, a complete explanation, starting with William the Conqueror. And William the Conqueror had decided he needed to determine what indeed he had conquered. And so he went out into the field and learned that he conquered 150 people in every village. And so when he reconstructed what he had conquered, he brought 150 people back into each village. That was a statistic. Now, fast forward to today, and there's this Dr. Duncan, through his statistics and research, has found the same thing, that we can comfortably handle 150 friendships, and that it correlates to the brain. So with saying, what he said was that there are basically 150 slots in our brain that we can handle with friends. And I'm still saying, I don't have time, for 150 friends. I mean, that's the fact. And then they further broke it down to saying, well, of those 150, 5 are really the people that you're going to nurture, as your friends, whether the 5, would be in your family, your spiritual family, or just those around and about you. And those would be the friends that are going to have your back, that will be there no matter what. Then they got into talking about social media. And has that made a change? Essentially, no. So, like Facebook allows you to have 5,000 friends on your Facebook page. Who has time? And that's what it really boils down to. So I just found the whole subject matter to be very interesting, and we could have a conversation like that. Let's talk. Or we can bring in a subject of your interest that you may have queries about regarding the teaching. Putting the teaching to practice. Are you putting the teaching to practice? And what's the response of your practice with your family, with your friends? And to share back and forth that way. So this morning we were, with the recording team, we were fooling around a little bit with what is possible. And it's going to be very doable. So we're going to start this up in September, and it'll be a 5-minute segment, subject to some adjustment, as we become more experienced in how this is going to work. But between now and then, you'll have some time to think about it and to determine if you want to, particularly if you're in the webinar, if you want to join in. And the way you would join in is simply type in on your computer or your laptop your question. It'll come into my iPad, and I can share verbally your question, and then we can answer it. If you are here locally, you'll be using a microphone, I'm told, that's already plugged in, that the webinar, you guys on the webinar will be able to hear. So that's our future. So this morning, Dreams Explored. Last Sunday's talk was about the different dimensions of consciousness and how those different dimensions affect our life and our dreams and the levels of our dreams. For example, I said if a person has a one-dimensional consciousness, then they're going to communicate with the world with only one sense. But if they are communicating with the world with 7 senses, their communications are going to be far-reaching. 1 sense versus 7 senses. So I'm talking about, essentially, when we talk about 1 sense, we're talking about the physical plane, which is where most of us, express our sensitivities and our dreams too. But the more dimensions of life penetrated by our consciousness, the closer we become to our true self. So that in itself tells us we have a true self and a false self. If we are only communicating in 1 dimension, that means there are 6 other dimensions not in expression. So we're only just a little bit of the expression of our true self, which leaves what? Everything else is false. It's not real. So the more dimensions of life penetrated by our consciousness, the closer we are to our true self. Today I'm going to expand upon the 5 major types of dreams that I talked about last Sunday. So today I'm going to continue talking about it, but more in depth. And if you were with us last Sunday, you know that the first part of the talk this morning will be talking about the physical brain, the etheric brain, physical, emotional, mental bodies, higher bodies, getting us ready to move into and understand these 5 major types of dreams. So bear with me and know that the first part is related to the second part, first half, second half. So dreams have 7 partitions. 7 partitions. One of the partitions is our dense physical brain. The dense physical brain. Then the second partition is the etheric brain. So we have a physical brain and we have an etheric brain. The etheric brain is an exact replica of our physical brain, but there is a difference. And the difference is that it is made, our etheric brain is made of etheric matter, and it is built primarily of higher ethers. The etheric brain is built primarily of higher ethers, which are the Buddhic, Atmic, Monadic, and divine planes. Think of this. When scientists and physicians tell us we only use a little bit of our brain, what we know is the reason for that is twofold. The centers in our brain are not all awakened. When the centers in our physical brain become awakened, then the higher bodies are in the process of awakening. So the more dimensions of consciousness we have, the greater the registration in our physical brain will become very evident. See how that works? Isn't that, it's so beautiful. This is the esoteric teaching. Now, there's a correspondence here. The Buddhic ether corresponds to our earth globe. Now I'm getting into, the esoteric side of the teaching. But if you're interested in this, you can explore, by reading the books. So the Buddhic ether corresponds to our earth globe. The Atmic ether corresponds to the solar system. The monadic ether corresponds to the galaxy. Now, if you're an astronomer or if you have any interest in celestial phenomenon, you will have learned this past couple of weeks that they're learning there are more and more entities within the Milky Way galaxy, our galaxy. This means revelations are taking place. The minute our dimensions of consciousness are sensitized and awakened, we are going to have more of a relationship with our galaxy and our monad. That means our monad, our spark, is evolving. And it's like, I was thinking 20 years ago, being able to invite people from all over the world to be with us with live stream on Sunday mornings was never dreamed about. So let us dream about having a galactic awareness through what we call the monad. Imagine our dreams. Imagine having a sensitivity in our dreams of a galactic nature. The divine ether reflects everything, by the way, that exists in the whole universe. That's the divine ether. So all those four ethers form the etheric brain. Our human constitution is designed in the same way, our human constitution. The lower part of our mechanism is the dense physical body, the liquid body, the gaseous body, and then it also has four higher ethers, the fourth, third, second, and first etheric ethers. All of these parts form the physical body, the 7 partitions of the physical body. Physical being the dense, liquid, gaseous, and the 4 ethers all formulate, our physical body. Our etheric brain is built with 4 higher ethers, like I said, and because these 4 higher ethers are penetrating into everything, the Earth globe, the solar system, the galaxy, and the whole universe, When we develop our brain centers, we're going to become omniscient, omnipresent, omnipotent, I can't pronounce these words, clairvoyant, clairaudient. Now we understand these things, clairvoyance and clairaudience. In other words, we're going to know what is going on everywhere in everything. This is why I said last Sunday, if we are able to use our 7 senses, our communications are going to be far-reaching. The more dimensions of life penetrated by our consciousness, the closer we are going to be to our true self. Our physical brain registers all impressions coming from the 5 physical senses. The 5 physical senses. The etheric brain registers what is beyond the 5 senses. For example, the astral, the mental, the intuitional, the atmic, and monadic events. This is what the etheric brain can register, and their corresponding spheres. With our etheric brain, we have a mechanism within us that can be aware of everything going on in the whole universe. Now, for some, this sounds like science fiction. But it's not. And we can attest to this when we have moments, and usually that's all it is in the beginning, are just moments of awareness on the astral plane, a moment of awareness on the higher mental plane. These opportunities of moments are given to us during the full moon of Aries and Taurus and Gemini. That's why it's so important to prepare our consciousness to be increasingly receptive and sensitive during those 3 months at the full moon. The same thing at the winter solstice. This is another time, that we can be sensitive. Sensitive to what? Sensitive to hierarchy. Sensitive to Shambhala, the lords of Shambhala. Sensitive to the changing plan that hierarchy has been given from Shambhala, the lords of Shambhala, to themselves, that translate the changing plan into a form that is then transmitted to the etheric brain of the disciple, the initiate, which, if those centers in our brain are awakened even to a certain degree, we will eventually register and thus be in service to hierarchy. So with our etheric brain, we have a mechanism within us that can be aware of everything that's going on within the cosmos. So we have an etheric body. Following that, there is the astral body and the mental body. From there is the human soul. So we have the etheric body, the astral body, the mental body. Now we have the human soul. And in the mental body, we have the subconscious, which is the 7th, 6th, and 5th subplanes of the mental plane. The teaching calls these 7th, 6th, and 5th subplanes the mental levels under the threshold. This is always a question of people when they read the teaching, and the teaching references the mental body. And there's been arguments about that. Well, the mental body is 7 subplanes, right? We have to understand that there is, yes, a mental body with 7 subplanes, but the 7th, the 6th, and the 5th subplanes are the planes underneath the threshold of the mental plane or the mental body. So that's just what they're saying, the mental levels under the threshold. Under the threshold. That word threshold should be a trigger to you to think about, what does that mean? I won't go into it, but it'll mean something to some of you. Okay, so let's explore the 5 types of dreams that I mentioned last week. but today I'll be more in depth. The first type is called automatic dreams. These dreams occur by themselves. We don't have any control over them. They appear like that because all day long, and now here's the in-depth that I didn't share last week, because all day long and throughout our life we use the physical, emotional, and mental parts. Those parts below the threshold. The physical, emotional, and mental parts of our consciousness, where we receive impressions that accumulate. They accumulate in our physical body. Impressions accumulated in our emotional body. Impressions accumulated in our mental body. When we fall into sleep, all of these impressions evaporate into the atmosphere, into our environment, and by association of frequencies, they build dreams. They fit together and create a drama. They create this drama, a story that is totally unreal, upon which we have no control. The teaching explains to us that 80% of our dreams are in this category. 80% of our dreams are in this category. These automatic dreams may be the result of pressure on various organs in our physical body. Sometimes these dreams are interfered with by outside noise. Somebody outside may be yelling. A dog may be barking. Your alarm clock may be going off. Okay? And they penetrate into your dreams. They may be from food, excitement, fear, anxiety, television viewing, some piece of mail that you got today, some telephone conversation, email conversation, Facebook, Messenger, and so on. All of these impressions are registered in those three bodies, and then when we go to sleep, these registrations mix together with categorical associations and build certain kinds of dreams. When one part finishes, another starts, and then another, reflecting all of this imagery in our brain. These dreams do not mean anything. Contrary to all the books that you're going to buy, you know, some people have bought, and I have them all, that say, okay, this dream means this, and that kind of dream means that, and oh yeah. See, that's just mythological. We're taking this scientific approach now to where these dreams come from. These dreams use our astral body. They use our etheric brain. They use our mental body to play their fantastical events there. It's very entertaining. So how does this happen? First what happens is that our subconscious mind slowly opens and releases everything suppressed, releasing everything that is suppressed in the subconscious mind. And it is there where our associations with our latest and strongest and deepest thoughts and emotions and actions have occupied our mind, all before we go to sleep. So we go to sleep and the subconscious mind is okay, and then we begin to dream. So these dreams are incoherent and the events are not related with each other, but they do have associations. And if we want to take the time, we can study what these associations are, because typically there will be a pattern, a repeatable pattern. In the subconscious mind are not only events that happen to you in this life, but also events. Are you ready for this? Events that are collected there and suppressed for many, many incarnations. That's why the subconscious mind is so controversial and needs in-depth study so we can understand ourselves better. In the subconscious mind is suppressed primarily those experiences which contradict each other. For example, you might have said, should I drink this glass of wine? No. Tomorrow, should I drink this glass of wine with my friends? Eventually you drink or you do not drink, but what's happening is this conversation becomes impressed in your mind as a contradictory elements. So these contradictory elements are called out by our latest thoughts, emotions, and actions. So somebody says, you know, you really shouldn't drink. If you're in the teachings, if you meditate, you know, you really shouldn't drink. Well, then one great teacher said, okay, we're not fanatics. If you want to drink, drink before the sun goes down. Take that glass of wine, cut it in half with water, and enjoy yourself occasionally. So we're not fanatics. But you're probably not doing that. And if you're drinking wine, you're going to drink the most expensive bottle of wine you can find, hopefully, instead of the plastic carton. I don't like wine, so I don't have to worry about it. But no, thank God. But so somebody comes in and says, no, you shouldn't be drinking that wine. And so then your thought is, yeah, I really would like that glass of wine, though. So you see how these contradictory thoughts are fed into the subconscious mind, and then they play out in our dream world. In all of these dramas of automatic dreams, we are mostly sleeping in the etheric plane. Sometimes we can enter into the lower astral plane, but we still don't have any power, you know, over these dreams. So that's the first dream. The second is control dreams. Okay, so let's say we've learned how to be awake in the astral plane. Physically, we're sleeping, but in the astral plane, we are awakening. When we are awake for a few minutes in the astral plane, we can control parts of the dream and change it. For example, you are walking toward an enemy. That enemy is holding a revolver and shooting you. In your dream, you tell him, don't shoot me. And if he does, you know what you're going to do? You're going to grab the bullet. Imagine that. Why not? Or you see you're going to fall down into a huge gaping hole, and at the bottom of that hole is a swarm of snakes. So you got to know, last night I had a dream about snakes. I so dislike snakes. They love me. They follow me around, mostly poisonous snakes. You know, and I remember having a dream, my last dream I thought, about snakes many years ago, and I conquered it. I conquered, you know, this dislike of snakes, I thought, or at least the fear of snakes. And then I had it last night. The test is still there. But I know darn well it was because I'm so focused, you know, on dreams now and these lectures, that it was the last part of the dream was where the tail of the snake was whirling around my body, and I just said, stop it, this is ridiculous. So the dream dissolved. So control dreams can take place on the lower and higher levels of the astral plane. Lower astral dreams we could consider like criminal activities. And that would be the lowest subplane of the astral plane. If our dreams are good, they're going to be in the higher levels. For example, a person is attacking you in order to kill you. That's going to be, that first sub-level of the astral plane, versus a teacher coming to you and sitting with you and teaching you. That will be your higher astral plane. In some of your dreams, when you start awakening, you can, in that level, travel to people and see their dreams. I've had these experiences. The first time I had this experience was when I was living in a condominium in Florida. And there's a couple, in the adjoining condominium, and I found myself in their dreams. Can you imagine my shock? Oh, this cannot be. Well, it happened night after night after night. I was being trained how to help them in their dreams and to help them change their dream. You can have experiences like this. Sometimes you can help control their dreams and save them from nightmares. But let's say you are having a nightmare on the mental plane and you're caught there. Sometimes dark forces are attacking you. Sometimes karmic retribution. These retributions are revealed to you. Sometimes a past life agony is revealed to you. You can't awaken and you cannot escape it. You're stuck on the mental plane. But a person who is totally awake on the mental plane can save us, can come to us and dissipate it through their mental light. And that's usually the solar angel that will come in and help us out. When this happens, you suddenly feel relaxed and awakened. Eventually, we're going to pass beyond the mental plane into the intuitional plane, something that's going to happen very slowly. First, we have to control the astral plane. When you first enter sleep, you consciously withdraw yourself out of your body, consciously. When this occurs, you must be awake on the astral plane. So the minute you leave your body and enter into that astral plane, you have to be awake. When you first enter sleep, you consciously withdraw yourself out of your body. So in a sense, you're not sleeping. You withdraw yourself into the astral plane, and if you have learned to do this, you're going to have passed 50 tests. You're going to have 50 major tests and little tests, but the 50 big ones, and then you make it. For disciples who are going to be awake in the astral plane, this is cool, the masters of hierarchy designate disciples or will designate teachers to help. Invisible helpers can also help you awaken in the astral plane. So not only are you being helped to awaken, now you're being taught how to maneuver your way through the astral plane. When you pass into the intuitional plane after being tested in the astral and mental planes, you do not sleep anymore. Everything is factual. That's the second major dream. The third major dream is projected dreams. These dreams are projected from your solar angel, from your master, or from a great being. They can also be projected from a great teacher living on the astral level. So usually we think of these great masters, these great teachers, living in the Buddhic plane, but they project part of themselves, to that upper level of the astral plane. So the teacher, this is how it works, that the teacher sees that you're ready to engage in a new service, that you're ready, your consciousness is ready. So the teacher will project this image into your consciousness, will formulate it and project it to you. It can be a warning, it can be an exclamation of a philosophical subject. or can reveal your future. Projected dreams can be prophetic, over which, again, we have no power over these kind of dreams. The dreams occur exactly in whatever form it is projected to you. Projected dreams not only protect you, but they also guide you. For example, let's say you were studying The Secret Doctrine by Blavatsky, or the book Torkim wrote, How to Understand the Secret Doctrine. And you say, I do not understand what a round is. What are these races? What are these schemes? What are these chains? I don't understand it. And then you see in a dream symbolically all these rounds and chains and schemes and root races, and then somebody comes and explains it to you. Ah, that could be in your dream. And then you come to class and say, I'm starting to get it now. That's the third. The fourth is called created dreams, made by our own visualization, where we can go to sleep and create our own dreams. Sometimes we are sad about things that are happening in the physical plane. We have worries and anxieties about this or that problem, and we want to escape. We want to go to Geneva. We want to go to Darjeeling. And we create that dream. This type of dream is done through visualization. And this is why we keep emphasizing regular meditation and concentration, and to start creative imagination and visualization exercises. The fifth is past life dreams. Most of us have hints and pieces of past lives or hallucinate about them. For example, you say, I'm in Egypt now. You know what? I was an Egyptian priest 5,000 years ago. How do you know this for sure? Well, past life dreams, the teachings tell us, are impossible until you are awakened on the intuitional plane. So do not listen to all those past life imaginings. People who tell you these things, unless they are in contact with the substance of this plane, the Buddhic plane, the intuitional plane, do not know what they're talking about. I'm so funny on this iPad. I'm getting all these messages across the top of my screen. It's so distracting. So I won't do this very often. Okay. So people must be graduated from conscious, controlled dreams. They must be awake in the astral and mental plane. They must enter into the intuitional plane. And then that person can say, I was in Egypt, I was here, I was there, and I was that person. If any such experience happens to you, the first thing you must do is not believe what you are thinking. And to be more scientific about it. So let's say in a dream that you are walking on a street in London. This is very cool. You awaken and you say, I saw something in my past life. Okay, fly there. In your consciousness, fly there to that place in London and see if you remember it. See if it was true. Even if it is true, it doesn't mean that you have evolved to the intuitional plane yet. It could be, why is that? It could be some of your friends who were passing on that street telepathically impressed your mind. And you dreamed about it. We read about Helena Rourke going from this planet to another planet. We must be a third or fourth degree initiate to do these things. So the first step toward finding out what we were in past incarnations is to develop our lotus. If this is important to you, but be careful, you don't want to see your past. Most of us want to see our future. Think of your past now, today, when you were 5, 10, 15. Think of your teenage years. We don't want to go back there. Most of us don't anyway. Your past life starts to unfold when your 7th petal of the lotus, the first sacrificial petal, starts to open. That's the 7th petal. The 5th petal, which is the astral love petal, when that opens, you begin united with the astral plane of the planet. So your 5th petal of the lotus must unfold, must at least be partially unfolded to where you can step onto the astral plane. If your 6th petal opens, then you become united with the mental plane of the planet. Remember, the mental and astral planes are traps. There you are still in the glamours and illusions of the planet. When you open the 7th petal, when you open the 7th, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. When you open that 7th planet is when you are found on the intuitional plane, and this is where true enlightenment starts. For example, the enlightenment of the Buddha. When the 9 petals are open is when the real script of our life is found in the center of our lotus, the center of our chalice. A great master says, do not try to know the past lives of other people. That this is very important advice for all of us. We are told that Master Kuthumi was once watching the Akashic records. This is such a well-known story. So Master Kuthumi was once watching the Akashic records when suddenly he saw the records of a man he knew. He immediately stopped. He stopped it and he said, I have no permission to see the past records, even though he is a Kohan, a 6th degree initiate. So in closing, when we are in deep sleep, there are divisions, cleavages between the physical brain, the etheric brain, the astral body, and mental body. Information in the mental body stays in our etheric brain. Mental body, all 7 subplanes of the mental plane, the mental body, stay in the mental body. Information in the mental body stays in our etheric brain. This is why sometimes after we awaken, we go back to sleep and we can continue on with that dream. At the time, just before we're awakening, the 3 bodies engage with each other. When you dream in the early morning hours, just before awakening, it can be a real dream. Actually, not really a dream, but a real memory of a dream.